Hello. I'm going to give a chance for others to jump on. Hi, how are you? I'm just giving a chance for some others to jump on. We'll get started probably in about another 2 minutes. Okay. We'll just go ahead and get started. How are you, Sharika? Um, I'm Kalia, and I have a couple questions here because I had some people who were interested in learning about flipping real estate. And so what I did was I talked to a friend of mine. He's also a client, and he's been flipping properties for about 20 years now. So he took some time for me to ask him some of the questions that you guys had about flipping real estate. So what we'll do is we'll jump right into the questions. The first question that I had here was what are some pitfalls and successes of flipping real estate? So this was one question that some people had. And his response was that some of the pitfalls are bad contractors, mismanagement of funds, and taking on more deals than you can handle. And so when he said bad contractors, we'll get more into that a little bit later. But some of the successes that he mentioned were making money in a short amount of time. And so he gave me some of the numbers on some of the deals that he's worked, because most investors, they talk in numbers. And so he said like one of his best deals of all time was where he acquired a property for $280,000. He spent about $30,000 in work, and he resold the property for about $420,000 within 6 months. He actually found this deal through a real estate agent. He told me that this was his best deal of all time. Let's see. He said a bad deal. He gave an example of a bad deal because some people were wondering, well, what is a bad deal? He said this was one of his worst deals. Was actually he acquired a property for about $150,000. The property needed $90,000 worth of work. And he said the property needed everything basically replaced, like the roof, the windows, everything needed replacement. And he resold the property for $310,000, but he said it took between 8 and 9 months for him to be able to sell that property. So, let's see. He told me that, okay, so another question was, how do you know if something is a good or bad deal? And he said, because what he does is he looks at the numbers. He looks at how much you're paying to repair the property and how much you can resell it for. He's looking to make at least about, so I asked him as far as like percentages and things like that. Basically, when he's looking to go into a deal, he wants to make a minimum of $40,000 in a short amount of time. So he said to him that constitutes like a good deal. So if he can make $40,000, the quicker he can make it, the better. Some of the setbacks, so another question was, what were some of the setbacks that you've experienced? So some of his setbacks, he said, were the contractors disappearing with his money. So he told me about that deal. We'll go over that one. But he had a contractor where he did a deal, and the contractor disappeared with his money. And also the contractors delaying the job. and not responsible. So another thing he mentioned to me was that, sometimes the contractors will tell you that they got permits to do a certain repair, and then come to find out they didn't have the permits. And so when the inspector comes by and sees that you don't have the permits, the inspector shuts your job down. And so then, of course, you have extra delays and extra carrying costs. Like, let's say it may take, another another month or so, or even another couple of weeks to get those permits, and it delays your job. So he was just saying that the contractors can be your biggest setback. Hi, how are you? We're just getting started with some of the questions that you guys had in reference to flipping real estate. So let's see. He said timing is very important considering the carrying cost. And let's see. I wanted to go over. Let's see. Okay. Another question here was, how old were you when you did your first project? He said that he was 28 years old, and when he first started off, he was a realtor, and he was looking to get properties that actually he could start off just renting out for himself. And so through that, he doesn't have a real estate license anymore because he said he got tired of like going out with clients that was just taking up all his weekends and things like that. So he didn't really like doing that. So what he did was start getting properties that he could either rent out or he could just rehab them and resell them. He said his first property was a foreclosure. He got a foreclosure, and actually he was representing himself as a realtor. And he purchased the property for $95,000. No, actually, let's see. It was listed at $95,000, but actually he offered $40,000, and the bank ratified that contract. And he spent about $40,000 to fix that property up. And 6 months after the repairs, after he got their property appraised, it appraised for $220,000. Let's see. And so basically his heart wasn't into being an agent. He's also been a lender as well, but primarily he just focuses on flipping real estate. So this is what he does for a living. Another question was, what was your longest project? He said his longest project was 14 months. And so this was the project that I mentioned to you where the contractors ran off of his money. And also, not only did the contractor run off with his money, but I guess after he brought somebody else in and he was able to fix the property up, then his first buyer fell through. So he had a buyer who was coming in to buy the property. The buyer just, that deal fell through, so he ended up having to get another buyer. But he said that this delay actually benefited his deal in the long run, because what happened was the values had increased from the time that he had actually listed the property, or actually when he first purchased the property, in between that time and him actually selling the property. So he said that this delay actually benefited him because he acquired the property for $85,000. Then he repaired it. He spent about $80,000 in repairs, and he resold the property for $315,000. Okay, so another question was, what are some key factors in flipping real estate? And so one thing he said, one key factor is, he was saying that you don't want to have to go into a house and have to fix everything. So like he said, basically, everything starts from walking up to the front door. You're looking at the lawn, you're looking at the walkway, you're looking at the front porch, you're looking at the roof. So you're looking at everything, of course, before you even get inside the property. But he said that you don't want something where everything is falling apart. Like, let's say the stairs are not level, the floor is not level, all the windows got to be replaced, the roof has to be replaced, the siding has to be replaced. So he said you don't really want deals like that, because what happens is that you end up losing. He said you'll probably end up working with 3 different contractors in that one deal. He said because most contractors get tired, because what happens is that when they come into the deal, they may give you one quote, and they underestimate the amount of work that's required on that property. And so once they get started, they're kind of looking into their next project. So you could end up going through multiple contractors if the house needs too much work. He said after about 2 months or so of doing work, most contractors get discouraged and move away from those type of deals. So that's why you don't really want something. He said really you want quick deals, where it's just more cosmetic type of things where you can go in, fix it, make about $40,000 and move on to the next project. So those are the type of deals that you really want. And he said some of the things that he looks at is the location. So of course he said when he looks at his location, he doesn't want like too many people hanging out. Like let's say it's too many people hanging out next door, or just too many people just hanging out in general, because when the buyers come look at the property, they're not going to be comfortable if too many people are hanging out. He said also he tries to avoid getting properties that are, of course, next to like a liquor store, a fire or police station, because if it's too close, there's always sound or noise from the sirens. And then also he tries to stay away from properties that are too close to a church, because then sometimes you have, where people are double parking in the neighborhood. So he tries to stay away from those. And so another question that somebody had was, when does he go about securing his buyer? And he said that he secures his buyer after the property is fixed up. So after it's fixed up and he's working with a real estate agent, he puts it on the market. That's pretty much where he's looking for his buyer. He says sometimes, he's had situations where he'll put it on the market, or while he's fixing the property prior to putting it on the market, he'll have like different neighbors coming by who are looking at the property, and they may have somebody. He also mentioned, maybe they have a relative, like the previous people who sold you the place, maybe they have a relative or somebody like that who's interested in purchasing the property. And another tip that he had here was, he said do a walkthrough, of course, do a walkthrough prior to settlement, because actually the picture that I just shared with you when I was announcing that I'm going live, that's actually a property that he's settling on now. And he was looking to buy this property in 2014, and the day before settlement, the house caught on fire. So that's actually one of his deals that he's getting ready to do, settle on right now. It took him that long to be able to get the property, because now it's like 2017. But he suggested to do a walkthrough, because he did a walkthrough, and come to find out, or when he was getting ready to do his walkthrough, come to find out the property was on fire. So you always want to do a walkthrough, and you always definitely, I would say, just my own input is changing the locks as soon as you go to settlement, because I have a whole nother story about a disaster with delays in changing locks and people coming into the property. But do you have any questions just about, these were just some of the questions that were asked, and I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I got your questions answered. Do you have any other questions in general? If you do, just go ahead and drop them in the comments, and then I can take some time to go over those. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Sometimes there's a bit of the delay. I don't see any questions here. So I hope, what I shared with you today was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.